Hey, my Vegas fig loving friends, I'm out on the prowl looking for figs as I always do when I leave the house. And right now I'm at the Craig Ranch, North Las Vegas Regional Park. And this used to be a golf course back years ago. I played it for a lot of years, but they bought the golf course and turned it into a beautiful regional park. And this section of it, right here, they planted fig trees. And they've got right here is 11 fig trees, all of them brown turkeys. I know that because I've been here during the year. And these have been in probably, at least 7 or 8 years. And they do produce some fruit. I've come by earlier in the year and I picked some, I'll call it decent fruit off of it. It wasn't the best because they simply are just not getting irrigated. They've got rock mulch around them, and they're just not getting ample water. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because a lot of our local fruit growers group, or our local fig growers especially, and that is strictly a locals group, I started hearing things this time of the year that, oh, figs are done, my tree is done, and that is the truth a lot of the time, because I can look into these trees and there's no fruit. I was here 2 or 3 weeks ago and actually picked, probably 2 or 3 dozen fruit off these, and they were marginal. They were edible, I'll say. They weren't great, but these trees are done. There's no fruit anywhere forming on it. All the trees are the same. They're pruned in a tree style pretty decently. I can say that. I can't quite tell how much water they're getting, but they're getting some bubble irrigation down here. I just don't know how much, and whatever it is, it's not enough, I can tell you that. And that's kind of the whole point that I wanted to show you, because this is the way that even what people consider are some well-maintained figs are looking like in Vegas. And I'm telling you, July and August in Vegas, it's tough. A lot of people all over the country are picking gorgeous, juicy, ripe figs, and we're getting things that when you touch them, they're hollow on the inside, and then, dry somewhat. And even when I say dry, you'd think if they're drying on the tree, that's okay. Well, they never moisten up well. They never get plump and juicy. So when they dry, it's just not a quality fig. And I hear some sprinklers coming on here, and I can tell here right here that that's the water that it's getting, and they've got these really on a desert landscape, kind of a drip irrigation. And it's okay if you're running it long enough, but it don't look like that's what's happening with these. You see how these are doing here. And, it don't matter what kind of irrigation you have, it's the amount of gallons of water that they're getting, or that's going. There's 4 of these around this tree. That's, again, the whole purpose of it, because I want to show you the difference in these 11 trees here. And like I said, they look okay. They look pretty typical for what I see in Vegas. But when you pan over here, there's 2 trees that are in the landscape area. And these are going to get sun on this one. You can see that both of these trees are quite larger. They're more full. The leaves are a bright green, not near as tattered with burnt edges as those are. And they are getting enough supplemental water versus all of these trees, and it's not probably a lot, but they're getting enough supplemental water to where these are still producing fruit. There's one ripening up right there. There's a couple ripening up right up here. See, these still producing fruit. Every one, and I checked, every one of those 11 trees, not one of them even have one single little bitty fig on it. Yet these 30 feet away, with the additional water that the landscape, the grass landscape is giving it. Now, if you're trying to water your fig tree just using landscape or grass irrigation, it's not enough. But the combination of these two, with them giving it just that little bit more water, is making a difference. So for all you folks that are saying my figs are done, I know that I always say more water, more water, more water. But this is a prime example of figs all planted at the same time. And some that are not producing, which is what I hear an awful lot of in our group, that all my figs are done. See, figs are an ever-bearing, if you will. As long as the tree is putting on new growth, let me show you here. This is a prune, here's growth. As long as it's putting on new growth, it should be producing a fig all the way along. See, this one has 5 generations of figs on it right up to the very tip. Right there is putting on just set a brand new fig. And anything, depending on how our winter goes, but anything, any fruit that is set for us by, let's say, these two probably right here, these two last ones, if the typical ripening time is about 90 days, if you've got proper heat, which we can have, these will have a chance to ripen before we get too cold. So, you know, mid-November, these could be ripe. Certainly some of these back here that have fruit on them. And this is on every branch. Every single branch along the way. So I think it's just important that you've got to up that water to keep, especially the late harvest of these figs. We should be picking, look at that bundle of them right up there. See, we should be picking terrific figs. July and August is going to be, you know, when it's, you know, a little more tough. And some of these figs here, like I said, they were hollow and not terrific because they weren't getting enough water. But there's no reason when we hit cooler temperatures and we start getting down, you know, around 100 degrees, and then we have cooler nights, which I think is just as important. See, new fruit forming right there. We have these cooler nights where we're getting down in the 70s here at the end of August, which is just terrific. We've got a chance to pick fruit for another couple of months. And here is your perfect example, you know, side by side. I couldn't have planned this any better. This tree here has fruit set all over it, and some of them ripening up right now. Some of these will be ripe this week. So for all you folks who say that my figs are done, you're watering like this. Up your water a little bit, and your tree can look like this. And you can be picking some fruit in September and October, maybe into November. I remember we had a December here that just loaded up with fruit. We had a December here a couple of years ago. We went over 400 days without a freeze, and we picked a few figs in December. They weren't great, but you know, who gets to pick figs in December? So there's just a little bit of on-the-spot example for you. Again, we're right up there. Of the best fig time in Las Vegas is not in the middle of summer like it is for everybody else. It is May and June with a beautiful Breba crop, and then now starting in September and October and maybe into November. Hope that gives you a little bit of help. Right there's the proof. No figs, figs, and it's all about the water. Happy figging, guys. See ya.